His Majesty the King's directive during the opening of the third session of the sixth legislative term to carry out an integrated study to measure the readiness of consolidating the Bahraini identity emphasized the great importance His Majesty attaches to the Bahraini identity and the need to consolidate it in many fields. We have more in this report.
ومن منطلق اهتمامنا الكبير بهذه الأولوية الوطنية فإننا نوجه الجهات المختصة بتنفيذ دراسة متكاملة لقياس جاهزيتنا في تأصيل الهوية البحرينية لضمان اقتباس كافة عناصرها أينما توجهنا وبما يمكننا من ضبط التوازن بين متطلبات الانفتاح والتجديد وبين اشتراطات حماية أمننا الوطني في صيغتها المتكاملة وخصوصا ما تعلق بأمن ثرواتنا الطبيعية وسبل استثمارها لتأمين المستقبل المستدام بخيرات.
Throughout history, the people of the Kingdom of Bahrain have been known for their adherence to the teachings of Islam and their customs and traditions, which they have proudly passed on to the people of the world, thus forming the original Bahraini identity. His Majesty the King's speeches never fail to praise the interconnectedness of the people of Bahrain, their solidarity and awareness of shared responsibility, and laying the foundations of the civilizational development of the Kingdom of Bahrain. The Bahraini identity was part of His Majesty the King's speech during the opening of the third session of the sixth legislative term. His Majesty directed the competent authorities to carry out an integrated study to measure the readiness of consolidating the Bahraini identity and the necessity of rooting it in various fields. This directive enables the balance between the requirements of openness and innovation and the requirements of protecting national security. In the country of coexistence and openness under the leadership of His Majesty the King, Bahrain has been characterized by generosity, respect for all, unity and national spirit, responsible for security and civil and social peace, discipline and responsibility, and the rejection of any attempts to deviate from national constants. The national plan to strengthen national belonging and consolidate the values of citizenship, Bahrainuna, which has been launched more than 5 years ago, is the best example of consolidating national values to preserve civilizational and developmental gains.
And we're now joined by the Director of the Executive Office of the National Plan, Bahrainuna, Hala Ahmed Suleiman. Hello and welcome, Hala Ahmed Suleiman. Now, could you tell us first about His Majesty the King directed in his royal speech to measure the readiness of consolidating the authentic Bahraini identity. Could you please elaborate on that?
Yes, the Kingdom of Bahrain has historically worked hand in hand through national collaboration, through the various stakeholders to maintain national unity and emphasize national values. However, His Majesty the King's royal speeches and directives continue to enlighten us. If people were to be attentive to the details of His Majesty the King's speeches, in every word you can see a message and a direction that looks at national unity, national cohesion, and care on the safety of the people of Bahrain. Hence, although when we talk about belonging and we talk about patriotism and nationalism, sometimes they're intangible feelings, but they're actually the core principles for national security and a stable country. Hence, His Majesty the King's emphasis with regards to being having a clear identity has been interpreted through a national plan that was developed and initiated by His Excellency the Minister of Interior, General Sheikh Rashid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa. In 2018, the concept was developed through various stakeholders. It became a national plan that was launched in March 2019, and it is the first official national document that clearly identifies the Bahraini national identity, the constants of the country, things that are known and will not change, as in like it's a monarchy, Bahrain is a monarchy, it's an Arab Islamic country, however it's a tolerant and peaceful and coexistence country. the Arabic language, and several other constants that are defined in this book. Who are the stakeholders within this national responsibility, as well as the most important element of the document are 18 national values that have been identified to represent us as Bahrainis and as a country that are interpreted through initiatives, actions, and day-to-day performance of the citizens of the country.
Okay, so now what are the next steps to consolidate the values of belonging and citizenship?
As I mentioned earlier, historically Bahrain has always been calling for national unity. However, when the national plan was developed and launched, 5 pillars were identified, and under these 5 pillars, 104 initiatives have been delivered. 93% of these initiatives have actually been initiated, have been developed, have been activated, and we are currently reviewing them. We can say that if we can call them 5 years of milestones and achievements towards achieving and identifying our national values, towards reinforcing patriotism, national belonging, and also emphasizing the national values with the people. In the 5 years, these initiatives were delivered by 44 stakeholders from the public and private sector. And when we say Bahrainuna, which means our nation, it also is the name of our national anthem. And we have been honored that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister is the leader who defined and named the national plan. It engulfs and it includes, it's inclusive. So when we say Bahrainuna, it is from the Bahraini people to the Bahraini people, delivered by the Bahraini people, and it's also targeted towards the Bahraini youth. The demographics of the Kingdom of Bahrain, 56% of them are the youth, and hence these initiatives are directed towards them. We are hoping to work and continue to work collectively with the youth in order to contribute to the prosperity of the Kingdom of Bahrain. Maybe it's important to note that in the 5 years of this national plan, a lot of work has been done. Currently, a number of studies are being carried out, but also in the next 3 years of the plan, which is from 2024 to 2027, we're looking at digitizing initiatives and also delivering a number of national campaigns that will be more engaging and active and closer to the youth. So we will be speaking their language, however, they will be the main stakeholders, and we're looking at them to play a bigger part in the national plan towards a cohesive, a more collective effort between the youth and the various stakeholders for a better future for Bahrain.
Thank you very much, Hala Ahmed Suleiman, for joining us. We had with us in the studio the Director of the Executive Office of the National Plan, Bahrainuna. Thank you.
Thank you.
His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa yesterday met the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Dick Schoof, on the sidelines of the first EU-GCC summit in Brussels, in Belgium. The meeting took place during His Royal Highness leadership of Bahrain's delegation on behalf of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. His Royal Highness affirmed the kingdom's commitment to furthering Bahrain-Netherlands relations, highlighting the growing cooperation across various sectors in pursuit of common goals. The meeting also discussed ways to enhance cooperation between the two kingdoms and the latest regional and international developments. The Kingdom of Bahrain's speech delivered by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister on behalf of His Majesty the King at the opening session of the first EU-GCC summit in Brussels underscored pivotal issues that affirm the principles of Bahrain's foreign policy in regards to regional and international causes. And we have more in this report.
The Kingdom of Bahrain has always worked to enhance its prestigious international position through its active participation in various important international forums. The speech of Bahrain, delivered on behalf of His Majesty the King by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister at the opening session of the first EU-GCC summit in Brussels, stressed the Kingdom's role on the international scene, especially in light of the exceptional circumstances the region is going through.
In the Middle East, we must urgently see the implementation of an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the release of all hostages, and the adoption of an irrevocable path to the creation of a viable, independent Palestinian state. We have said it and we say it again. It is imperative to break the current escalatory cycle in the region and to avoid a wider regional conflict. Likewise, in Europe, we must see an end to aggression and the achievement of a just and lasting peace.
Bahrain has been an active contributor to building partnerships and fruitful ties with regional and international countries and organizations, focusing on cooperation and joint action emanated from the values and principles of peace and coexistence. Bahrain's speech also called for the immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the release of all hostages, in addition to the adoption of an irreversible path towards establishing an independent and viable Palestinian state, which reflects the kingdom's firm stance towards the cause. Meanwhile, the speech highlighted the kingdom's view on the importance of comprehensive reforms in all international institutions, which affirms the wise future vision of Bahrain that ensures that the active and influential role of these institutions is just.
In the spirit of partnership that His Majesty King Hamad has called on the international community to convene an international peace conference on the Middle East, the Kingdom of Bahrain urges all nations to join us in this vital initiative, one which seeks to strengthen efforts to achieve a just, comprehensive and lasting peace in the region.
Since Bahrain is an active participant in international politics and based on partnership, the Kingdom's speech stressed the importance of the invitation made by His Majesty the King to the international community to hold a peace conference in the Middle East. His Majesty the King urged all countries to join this vital initiative to enhance efforts to achieve a just, comprehensive and permanent peace in the region. The speech emphasized the importance of effective partnership with the countries of the world to achieve the best interest and development of all countries and societies.
Representatives Council Speaker Ahmed Al-Musallam praised the address delivered on behalf of His Majesty the King by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister in the EU-GCC summit. He pointed out that His Royal Highness called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the release of all hostages, and the adoption of an irreversible path towards the establishment of an independent and viable Palestinian state, reflects Bahrain's firm position. He affirmed the support of Bahraini parliamentary diplomacy for all, adding that the speech of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister aims to achieve prosperity and sustainable peace for the world. The chairman of the Shura Council, Ali Al-Saleh, stressed that Bahrain's balanced and moderate foreign policy, led by His Majesty the King, contributed to building fruitful partnerships and ties with global countries and regional and international organizations. Al-Saleh said that Bahrain has become internationally recognized for its humanitarian and civilizational initiatives. He noted that Bahrain's participation in the first EU-GCC summit was praised for its efforts to translate His Majesty the King's directives and aspirations into diplomatic work. He said the address delivered on behalf of His Majesty the King by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister carried a realistic diagnosis of the challenges and circumstances faced today, emphasizing the urgent diplomatic efforts to overcome obstacles. Al-Saleh emphasized the need for legislative authority support for diplomatic efforts to enhance partnership and build a future of peace and prosperity. At the conclusion of the first GCC-EU summit, a final statement was issued emphasizing the commitment to the strategic partnership between the two sides and developing it to higher levels. The Minister of Oil and Environment, Special Envoy for Climate Affairs, Dr. Mohammed bin Mubarak bin Daina, participated in the 35th session of the Council of Arab Ministers responsible for environment affairs held in Saudi Arabia. The minister underscored Bahrain's commitment to fulfilling its environmental and climate obligations through innovative initiatives and projects in collaboration with regional and international partners to protect the environment. He emphasized Bahrain's support for international efforts aimed at environmental preservation and expressed appreciation for Saudi Arabia's efforts in hosting and presiding over this council session. He underscored Bahrain's support for Oman's presidency of the UN Environment Assembly and Saudi Arabia's hosting of the conference as the parties of the UN Convention to combat desertification. The minister highlighted Bahrain's commitment to addressing environmental challenges, focusing on reducing pollution, such as renewable energy use. He noted the importance of enhancing Arab cooperation on environmental issues and coordination to achieve climate security. The Minister of Oil and Environment and Special Envoy for Climate Affairs, Dr. Mohammed bin Daina, participated in the summit of the Green Middle East Initiative held in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Dr. Bendaina affirmed Bahrain's full support for the Green Middle East initiative led by Saudi Arabia to alleviate the effects of climate change on the region. He stressed Bahrain's constant keenness to be an important part of achieving environmental security in the region and the world in line with its goals and obligations. He noted that Bahrain ratified the Charter of the Green Middle East initiative based on the belief in the role of the initiative in achieving environmental security in the region and also the world, protecting the environment and facing the challenges of climate change, which will positively reflect on the efforts of Bahrain and its environmental goals to reach the carbon neutrality by 2060. The Minister of Housing and Urban Planning, Amna Al-Rumaihi, held a bilateral meeting with Egypt's Minister of Housing, Utilities and Urban Communities, Engineer Sharif Al-Sharbini. The meeting discussed ways to improve cooperation between the two countries, particularly in housing and urban planning. Al-Rumaihi reviewed Bahrain's housing services, particularly its partnership programs with the private sector and the housing financing program, which offers diverse housing options for citizens. She noted that the government land development rights program is accelerating growth in implementing projects with real estate development companies in Bahrain. Both sides emphasized the importance of continuing to exchange experiences and housing initiatives, as well as technical visits to enrich housing plans in both countries. In implementation of the directives of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister to expand the Government Land Development Rights Programme and implement 8 additional projects in partnership with the private sector, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning announced the launch of 3 new bids to implement 137 housing units in Salman City. This is within the framework of the plan to implement housing projects included in the Government Land Development Rights Programme in partnership with the private sector. The ministry stated that the new projects scheduled to be implemented include 3 packages of housing unit projects, which will be implemented on an area of 27,000 square meters, noting that the closing date for the submission of the bids will be on Wednesday, February 19th. The ministry has initiated 7 new housing projects within the Government Land Development Rights Programme since its launch, confirming the continuation of preparations for more housing projects by launching bids for 3 projects in Salman City. Now, in cooperation with the Ministry of Information, the Ministry of Education and Visa International, Bahrain Islamic Bank launched the We Write in Arabic initiative, which focuses on engaging young Bahrainis in a creative writing competition that requires them to write a short story in Arabic centered on the future of Bahrain. The Minister of Information, Dr. Ramzan bin Abdullah Al Nuaimi, noted that such national initiatives fortify the national identity as an integral element of comprehensive development and nearly early national education. He expressed pride in including this initiative as part of the Arab Media Capital initiatives. The Minister of Education, Dr. Mohammed bin Mubarak Jum'a, commended the partnership with BISB, noting that this initiative allows young people to express their literary talents in their mother tongue, reinforcing the ministry's efforts in this regard. Acting CEO of BISB, Fatima Al-Alawi, expressed pride in this initiative and investing in young talent and creativity. The president of Bahrain Writers Association, Dr. Rashid Najm, said that the initiative is a unique and distinctive experience that coincides with the activities of Manama, the Arab media capital. On the sidelines of the GCC ambassadors' FTA meeting in London, the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Abdullah Fakhru, met with British Minister of State for Trade Policy and Economic Security, Douglas Alexander. The two sides discussed investment cooperation and opportunities to expand this partnership and achieve mutual visions. The minister affirmed that the UK is a key investment partner at a global level and that economic relations continue to witness steady growth. He highlighted the importance of the free trade agreement between the GCC and the UK, which will constitute a significant historical turning point in the well-established trade and investment relations between the two sides. In her speech before the 149th IPU Assembly in Geneva, Shura Council Secretary General Karim Al-Abbasi affirmed that the use of AI applications in support of the legislative work in Bahrain reflects the continued investment in modern technologies and advanced systems. She reviewed the artificial intelligence projects implemented by the General Secretariat of the Shura Council. She also expressed pride and honor that the government, headed by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister, has adopted national initiatives based on AI in various fields. Secretary General of the Shura Council, Karima Mohammed Al-Abbasi, held a meeting with Chief Officer of the Parliamentary Resource Centre. Al-Abbasi stressed that the General Secretariat is keen to implement the directives of His Majesty the King on expanding the use and employment of AI technologies, noting that these directives are reflected in His Majesty's speech at the opening of the third session of the 6th legislative term. She provided a detailed explanation of the AI applications adopted at the General Secretariat of the Council, and for his part, the IPU official praised the advanced steps and projects implemented by the Shura Council's General Secretariat in providing support to MPs, praising the keenness to transfer experiences and initiatives in using modern technologies and AI applications. Bahrain's parliamentary division delegation met the special envoy of the Convention on the Prohibition of Use, Stockpiling, Production and Transfer of Anti-Personnel Mines and on their destruction. His Royal Highness Prince Merhab Raed bin Zayed Al Hashimi in Geneva. MP Dalal Al Zayed stressed that Bahrain, under the leadership of His Majesty the King, supports international efforts, cooperation and coordination with other countries regarding all conventions related to humanitarian aspects, noting that Bahrain emphasizes the principles of the Constitution and the National Action Charter when joining treaties. She pointed out that Bahrain has been a pioneering model in supporting peace, security, coexistence and tolerance. For his part, the Special Envoy provided a detailed explanation of the Convention and its objectives. Shura Council member and member of Bahrain's Parliamentary Division delegation, Dr. Bassam Ismail Al bin Mohammed, participated in a panel discussion organized by the IPU on promoting peaceful coexistence, in which the Deputy Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the King Hamad Global Center for Peaceful Coexistence, Ali Al-Aradi, participated. Dr. Al bin Mohammed said that Bahrain presented and implemented many quality initiatives in the field of peaceful coexistence, as Bahrain is actively and positively contributing to the promotion of human values and principles of peaceful coexistence. He explained that His Majesty's initiative to launch the King Hamad Award for Peaceful Coexistence is a civilizational step that honors individuals and institutions that promote interfaith and intercultural dialogue. Bahrain's Parliamentary Division delegation member MP Hassan Ibrahim Hassan participated in an open session of the IPU's Young Parliamentarians Forum. He said that the contributions of the youth in Bahrain's development process are increased by the support of His Majesty the King, praising the governmental and qualitative initiatives implemented by the government headed by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister to support the youth. Hassan said that young people in Bahrain are assuming important national roles and responsibilities, especially with regard to innovation and creativity. Member of Bahrain's Parliamentary Division delegation and the Women Parliamentarians Office Shura Council member Hala Ramzi participated in the closed meeting held by the office as part of the IPU General Assembly. Ramzi presented a report at the Standing Committee on International Peace and Security of the IPU, which engaged in insightful discussions on threats to international peace and security, particularly the Palestinian cause. She praised the office's role in promoting women's rights, highlighting their cooperation with the IPU's standing committees and their efforts in advancing legislation that protects women. The first Deputy Speaker of the Council of Representatives, member of IPU Union Standing Committee on Peace and International Security, Abdel Nabi Salman, delivered a speech before the IPU General Assembly, during which the steps taken by Bahrain were highlighted to implement the decisions of the IPU mentioned in the Manama Declaration, especially related to peaceful coexistence. He said that Bahrain's commitment to peace and justice, particularly in the Middle East, is evident in its willingness to host an international peace conference. He said that the Manama Declaration reflects Bahrain's commitment to achieving peaceful coexistence and promoting dialogue between cultures and religions. The first Deputy Speaker of the Council of Representatives, member of IPU Standing Committee on Peace and International Security, Abdel Nabi Salman, participated in the meeting of the International Security and Peace Committee on the Interparliamentary Union. He said that members of global parliaments are required to move seriously to contribute to the two-state solution. He said there is an increasing international recognition of the Palestinians in a sovereign independent state and highlighted the approval of more than 153 UN member states, as well as multiple international decisions on a two-state solution. He stressed the need to restore confidence to the Palestinian people, to feel safe and confident in the future, and to build an independent state at home. Shura Council member Dalal Al-Zayed participated in the meeting of the IPU Standing Committee on Democracy and Human Rights, where the committee adopted a draft resolution on combating the illegal adoption and trafficking of children to avoid exposing them to further violations and depriving them of their basic rights. She emphasized support for parliamentary and international resolutions to combat the illegal adoption and trafficking of children. Al-Zayed said that there is an urgent and necessary need to specialize and focus on combating the illegal adoption of children, not separating children from their parents, and establishing mechanisms for their return. In its efforts to promote traffic safety among children and youth, the Director General of Traffic, Brigadier Sheikh Abdurrahman bin Abdul Wahab Al Khalifa, announced a 60% increase in the number of school students benefiting from annual awareness initiatives in the 23 academic year. More than 26,000 students participated in these programs compared to 17,000 in previous years. The Director General highlighted the Director's collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the private sector, allowing targeted groups to benefit from these yearly projects. The program included over 390 lectures delivered across public and private schools, as well as kindergartens. He emphasized that the traffic strategy is focused on increasing road safety and fostering traffic awareness, particularly among young children in kindergarten and first grade. And before we end this bulletin, here is a report on the latest business news.
More than 80 international companies showcased the latest technologies and innovation in the fields of maintenance and reliability, and the latest industrial developments at the 7th edition of the Maintenance and Reliability Conference and Exhibition, MaintCon 2024, providing an opportunity to review solutions and products supporting the maintenance and asset management sectors.
It is well organized. We're really impressed by how Bahrain hosting a really important events such as MaintCon, which will establish more business leads from all over the world. It would enhance our business relations. It will increase our opportunities as sales and marketing. We've been open up to all companies from all over the world.
The organization of the event, with the participation of regional and international companies, is in line with policies aimed at supporting and developing these important areas in the oil sector, as this international conference and its exhibition represents a platform to discuss the latest technologies and the most important practices and establishing the culture of maintenance in its various stages, in addition to exchanging information, experiences, and studies.
Yeah, we thank Bahrain Kingdom for receiving us in this event. We've been participating a lot in MaintCon previously and this year as well. It's been always a pleasure to provide our best solution, best services to the industry of oil and gas, petrochemical, power and mining. And we feel that we are into the direction of all national oil companies like PABCO, like Saudi Aramco, like all the NOCs in GCC to promote the net zero emissions solutions. We have within our company, we are an American company but based in GCC. We feel that with this event, it would help us to network with our clients directly and provide them our best practices to, in fact, enhance the operation, the business continuity of our customers.
MaintCom 2024 is one of the important specialized events hosted by Bahrain since its formation in 2010, as it is today the leading platform for knowledge exchange and discussion of best practices and advanced solutions in the maintenance sector at the local, regional, and international levels.